Leagues 5 gang, how are we doing? We just got a bombshell dropped on us. All of the information about the relic tiers, all of the remaining relics we weren't aware of, we now know. And I thought this would be fun. Let's go through this together. Let's talk about the ones we didn't know about and compare them to what they're up against in their tiers. So we already knew what tiers 1 to 4 were based on the reloaded teaser we got recently. So tier 1, Gathering Relics, has some slight production element to them, but Gathering Relics. Tier 2, Utility Relics, really cool that these are coming in early. Tier 3, Teleport Relics. Tier 4, I don't even think you can put a title on what this category is. You've got Golden God, which is the money-making, magic, prayer kind of relic all in one, up against Reloaded, which I think has a place. It's fantastic for people who may have been either indecisive or unsure whether their current relic plans around skill in relics had a gap in them. So Reloaded allows you to go back and pick another relic from tiers 1 to 3. So for example, if you're someone who really wants dodgy deals, you know, it looks like an amazing relic. If you really want that relic, but your regions don't have good farming opportunities, you can take Reloaded at tier 4, go back, pick Friendly Forager as well, and you're kind of doing both there. That kind of alleviates a lot of pressure for people. And I think that that theme carries on. So let's talk about some of these new relics. Equilibrium is one of those, new relics. Can't really call it a new relic. It's coming back for the 3rd time. Each time you gain XP, you're going to get additional XP equal to 10% of your total level. Now, you're not unlocking this until tier 5, so it's safe to say you're going to have some good total levels under your belt. Additional XP given by this relic isn't boosted by your league's XP multiplier though. Now, it does give your lowest skill 20% of that XP of your total level. So I suppose in a way, this is very good for people who are picking regions that really struggle with a particular skill. I feel like Hunter, Thieving, Runecraft, and Herblore are 4 skills that have some regions that are really difficult to train those skills with. And I'm not going to go through all of those because I'll be here forever, but I think if you're picking a particular region and you're already wondering how you're going to level a certain skill, I can see the benefit of this relic in comparison against what it's up against, Golden God and Reloaded. I don't see a world where I even consider it over those two. I'm sure there will be someone out there that has thought about pairing Equilibrium with something like Production Master in the next tier. And, you know, they're already starting to work out that you can max out your skills incredibly quick. You know, there's definitely ways this can be used to speed up your XP, but I think in a game where XP is honestly one of the last things you think about, I feel like this just falls by the wayside. That's just my opinion. Anyway, we'll have to see if someone makes good use out of this relic. Let's move on. Like, this tier looks really, really good all round. So let's talk about the clue relic first. This is Treasure Arbiter. You gain the following benefits when clue hunting. Impling jars and creatures that drop clue scrolls have a 1 in 15 chance of dropping them. So yeah, this is really good. I think if you're picking Animal Wrangler, and I have to put a question mark on this, but if we know that that also prevents you from failing to catch Implings, you've just unlocked the best way to get clues for pretty much every single clue tier. Clue nests, clue geodes, clue bottles, all of those rates of finding those are boosted by 10 times, so synergizes perfectly with your tier 1 relic. All clue scrolls having the lowest number of possible steps is a lot of fun to play with. So every clue scroll is going to roll the max amount of rewards it can give. Beginner caskets roll 3 times, easy caskets 4, medium 5, hard and elite 6, and master caskets rolling for rewards 7 times. That is going to lead to some really, really chunky clue rewards. And if you're like me and some of your early to mid leagues gear progression are rewards from clue scrolls, this is going to be really good. I think the main caveat to that, and the main criticism I have of this relic, is it's coming in way too late. It's still going to be great for any league tasks associated with clues, but I think we already have confirmation that there's going to be fewer league tasks linked to clue scrolls this year. So I do feel like long-term value, is it worth it? Does it measure up to the other two? Let's talk about the other two first. Production Master. I have always been a big production fan. Whenever it's been production versus harvester, it's production for me every single time. So what does this thing do? It processes your whole inventory at once, whatever you're doing. And they give a lot of examples in this little relic panel here. fletching logs, smelting ores, smithing bars, making cannonballs, fletching logs, stringing bows, making arrow shafts and cutting bolt tips, cleaning herbs and making potions, which do not have a stackable secondary ingredient, cooking food, making pies or pizzas, and making jugs of wine. Man, Thurgo is going to be happy this league. Anyone picking Asgarnia, do yourself a favor. Do Thurgo a favor, in fact. Think about someone other than yourself for once. Make 28 red berry pies at once, go give them to Thurgo. But this also works on crafting, so gems, making leather, battle staff, spinning flax or wool, all really good uses. This really does translate as a incredibly strong all-round relic for skilling. I don't have much to say on this one. I know how good production relics are, but it is up against something that I think is insane. Slayer Master. This is the League's 5 Slayer relic, and my god, if they buffed this from last year. The first line is really all you need to read to know that we're on to something incredible here. You will always be on task for all eligible Slayer monsters. So while you're walking around the game and killing anything that could previously be assigned as a Slayer task, you will be getting Slayer experience. Let's get through the rest of what this relic does, and then I'll give my thoughts. Unlock all Slayer task perks for free. Now, obviously we don't care about the extensions so much because you're always going to be on a Slayer task anyway, but there are plenty of perks that actually unlock new Slayer creatures. Also the ability to craft a Slayer ring and the Slayer helmet and those types of things. Rune pouches, herb sacks, and looting bags in the Slayer Point store are free. And I think this one is also pretty huge. You will gain 1,000 to 15,000 bonus Slayer XP for the first time you kill the 100th of each unique Slayer monster, scaled by the monster's Slayer level requirement. So this one will eventually get to the point where you've used up most of its case uses, that 100th Abyssal Demon as demonstrated in the video. But this is really going to incentivize you to get that 100 KC on certain boss Slayer tasks as well. Even if you get your drop before the 100 KC, you might want to go to 100 KC to get that huge XP drop from like Zulrah, or any of the Wildy bosses, or whatever boss can be assigned as a Slayer task. I think if I had to pick, it would be between this and Production Master, hands down. Now, I think this massively buffs certain regions as well. Mauritania is going through the roof. I recently did like a re-ranking of all regions with all of the reveals we've had, and Mauritania was already number 1. I feel like this just cements it there. And I feel like some people may look at this and be like, oh, Mauritania is a must if you're picking the Slayer relic. I disagree. I massively disagree. I think just always being on a task is going to just help you propel towards those echo bosses that are locked behind Slayer task requirements. You already know there's going to be League tasks behind killing certain Slayer creatures and behind getting their associated drops, like probably the Abyssal Whip. So this is just going to help you get there even quicker. That being said, obviously if you pick Mauritania and get a Slayer Helm, your DPS is going to go through the roof. You can imbue your Slayer Helm at Soul Wars, and this is just going to be crazy. Increased accuracy, increased damage on Slayer tasks. You're always going to be on a Slayer task. I think this actually even boosts the DPS when wearing a full set of crystal. So if you've already planned out a melee build and you're planning on going Tyrannwyn for the full set of crystal armor and the crystal blessing, it actually works out more DPS to switch out the crystal helmet for a imbued Slayer helmet when on task. So pretty sure you can just wear a crystal body, crystal legs, and get those bonuses with the crystal blessing transferred over to any other melee weapon. Pair that with a Slayer helm as well. This has made me even more tempted to just do a melee build focused around Tyrannwyn early on. Anyway, I did get a message before I pressed record of someone saying, please don't spend 10 minutes talking about the Slayer relic. Goddamn, I feel seen, but yeah, you're right, I could do that, so let's move on. We already knew Total Recall was going to be up against Banker's Note. We didn't have a tier for it, and I feel like with it being this late into the game, it changes the debate on these relics a little bit. I'm not going to get into too much detail because Total Recall versus Banker's Note debate has been going on for some time, but here's my quick thought process in less than a minute. You see, I wanted to pick Banker's Note because I thought it would let me access content that my account wasn't ready for even sooner. I wanted to rock up to the fight caves, try and get my fire cape on day 1 with barely any prayer potions, having just got 43 prayer. And it would be a struggle if it wasn't for the fact that I was going to bring along, a truckload of food. a whole farmer's market of food and just eat my way through that. But the fact that this is now coming in at tier 6, I'm honestly leaning more towards Total Recall. I don't know. I really don't know which way I'm going to go with this. I think it's going to be down to literally the day of the decision, and maybe I just panic pick, and maybe I have massive relic regret all over again. It's a yearly experience for me now. Why would it change? So tier 7, Pocket Kingdom. This looks super fun. I love the little almost like compassy looking thing that it comes in. It gives you full access to the managing miscellanea feature, but from anywhere in the game, so you don't need Fremenic. And not only will the workers cost 50% fewer coins, but they always have max appeal, so you never have to worry about going there and, raking leaves or whatever you do. But they're going to produce twice as many resources and accrue them every hour instead of every day. Every hour instead of every day. That alone is insane. It goes without saying, but if you're not thinking of picking Friendly Forager, if you're not thinking of picking Overgrown, which we will get into, it is also in this tier, then this is a great solve for regions that have terrible farming patches. One of the melee builds that I put together that now looks even more insane with today's reveals, that was picking regions Wilderness, Taramwin, and Mauritania. Those regions suck when it comes to herb lore or farming. Yes, you can farm herbs from PVM, that's always going to be possible, but without farming patches, secondaries also kind of lag behind, and you get to this bottleneck situation where you're waiting for a particular drop to get you through the next thing. This is a great way around that. The only drawback for this is a very obvious one. You get all these resources and they're fantastic for getting you over those difficult skills that are quite useful in PVM later on, but you won't get any experience for it. And I feel like that's where Overgrown kind of has the other angle to it, and let's talk about Overgrown next. Now, we already knew about this relic. It allows you to access the seed vault from anywhere in the game, so somewhere to store all of your seeds and not have a terrible set of junk in your bank. But also, it prevents any of your crops from dying. You have a 75% chance to save a seed on planting it. When that seed is fully grown, not only is it automatically harvested, but another one is planted provided you have the seed in your seed vault. So it's like an automatic farming cycle taking place, giving you XP and passive supplies. Seeing that Pocket Kingdom is in the same tier as this is quite an obvious fix for those regions, as I've said before, that don't have good farming patches. With Overgrown, you will still need the patches in the first place, so I think Overgrown gets huge stonks for Zaya pickers. You've got the whole farming guild. You can grow pretty much everything you could ever want there, and Overgrown is going to go crazy with it. The last relic in this tier is Grimoire, and Grimoire has a lot of fun case uses. It allows you to bypass a lot of League's restrictions, to be honest. It will unlock all prayers, it will unlock all spellbooks, regardless of region restrictions, so you get Ancient Magics, Lunar Spellbook, Augury, Rigor, Piety, all without the regions that are associated with them, so this feels really good. And I feel like that is probably the trickiest choice. Do you want Grimoire that gets you around having to pick regions like Fremenic, the Desert, or Kandarin? Or do you want to pick something that kind of gets you over that farming and herb lore hurdle? Those two categories are going to be difficult to choose between, and I'd be really interested to know what you guys think. Are you going Grimoire, or are you going down one of these farming relics? And then last of all, we have the combat relics. Now, I did a whole 2-hour chat with Double Shine literally on the day that this came out, which was just horribly timed. We would have loved to have talked about this, but let me just quickly go through them now. First up, Last Stand, and I've probably said this about every single relic at this point, but this is crazy. By picking this relic, you get the Last Stand ability, which if damage reduces you below 0 HP, it is triggered, and it reduces you to 1 HP instead. Your combat stats are instantly boosted to 225, but begin draining rapidly down to their base level. And for the next 16 ticks, you're basically invulnerable, and any damage you deal within that time is healed back to you after those 16 ticks are up. So, if you have an incredibly fast attacking weapon, or you have a really heavy hitting weapon, Darox in particular is going to go crazy with this. Blowpipe is going to be so good with it as well, and you're just going to have a full HP heal straight off the back of, not dying. This ability does have a 3-minute cooldown though, so similar to Undying Retribution last year, the cooldown does limit your ability to use this often. This one looks crazy, and I personally can't wait to use this one. I feel like this is the one I'm locking in. There is the Guardian Relic, and props to Hootie for putting together the visual here that kind of called out the entire RuneScape player base, or at least those RuneScape players who don't really have people to play with. I'm going to jump in and say you've always got someone to play with. Join the Big Frog Energy Discord. Link in the description. Similar to last year, Guardian spawns a Thrall, which lasts 30 minutes. The Guardian will always attack your target with whatever style it's weak to, melee ranged magic. It can also use AoE spells, so in rooms like the Nilo room in Theatre of Blood, you know, all those spiders, or the Monkey room in the Tombs of Amascut, the Guardian Relic goes hard. But it will also be really useful in more trivial things like Slayer, and it can be used within the Gauntlet, so, you know, those one-on-one PVM situations, it's still really good in. And lastly, there is Specialist. This is our special attacking relic for Leagues 5. Man, I'm so glad to see this because everyone, myself included, has been excited to see what we're going to be able to do with the Dog Sword. This is the Echo item from Cerberus. It applies every single God Sword effect with its special attack. And this relic is... oh, it's perfect for this. All special attacks are going to have a cost of 20%, and they're going to have a plus 100% accuracy boost. So you're going to be hitting, and you're going to be able to spec 5 times, traditionally. However, the next part of this relic allows you to spam even more. For each failed accuracy roll with the special attack, you gain 10% special attack energy back. So I feel like for multi-hitting special attacking weapons, something like the Dragon Claws might give you multiple instances of special attack regeneration. I might be wrong on thinking that, but that's what comes to mind, and that sounds crazy. Dragon Claws might actually be one of the best special attacking weapons in Leagues 5. And lastly, whenever you kill an NPC, restore 15% of your special attack energy. So this is pretty cool as well, especially for any special attacks that hit NPCs in an AoE area of effect. So I'm thinking the Din's Bulwark here. You know, it's not too late to pick Mauritania, pick Zaya, get full Justicia, get the door, special attack groups of NPCs and kill them, and just spam it. Completely delete a room. That sounds like a lot of fun. And that is everything. We now know pretty much everything we need to be able to make a pretty informed decision ahead of Leagues 5. And that's if you're even going to bother with making a plan anyway. I feel like one of the most fun things to do in League is actually just to jump in with a rough idea of the content you enjoy and just wing it. If this has changed any of your decisions, make sure to let me know in the comments what this has totally changed, because I'm sure it has for a lot of people. And that is all from me today. So thank you for watching. Check if you're subscribed, and subscribe if you want to see more Leagues 5 content. I'm going to be doing multiple builds on, you know, a few different accounts throughout the league, so you'll get to see some different perspectives there. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I will see you all on the 27th of November.